guys, today I'm going to be showing you a great little 12-bar blues solo in the key of G. This is over a slow 12/8 feel, and we're going to be incorporating some of the iconic licks from the three kings, Albert, Freddie, and B.B. King, and kind of give you a little bit of insight into their playing. Make sure you come by TastyGuitar.com to get the free tab on this lesson, and be sure to check the description below for information about membership at Tasty Guitar, where you get interactive sound slice tab, backing tracks, feedback on your playing from me, live workshops, and a lot more. Tune up and let's get started. Now we're basically just playing a standard 12-bar blues in the key of G, but this is kind of a slow 12/8 feel, but it's just a 1-4-5 chord progression. The first few licks here are very much in the style of Albert King, and of course, you know, you hear Stevie Ray play this stuff as well because Albert King was such an influence on Stevie. The first few licks are all kind of coming out of G minor pentatonic position 2 on the top 3 strings. A lot of people refer to that as the house of blues. Kind of got these 5 notes. Your root of G being right there on the B string. And that is where the first lick is starting. Now this is a pickup lick, and a lot of times you will hear people use this lick leading into the bar 1 on a blues, starting that blues off when it's counted off by the drummer. So like 1, 2, 3. That's the first lick. So we're starting kind of right after beat 3, and we're counting this. Remember, this is in 12/8, so it's like 1, 2, 3, and So basically, we're getting 3 eighth notes per beat. So that's 3 and right there, hitting that G note twice. 3 and You're then going to go up to the B flat, the C, and then you're going to bend that C. So far you'd have this. Bend it up full. Then you're going to bend it again, back down to your B flat, ending on that same root you started with. So here is that first lick. 1, 2, 3. Got 16th notes at the end there. And from there, it's very typical to just let the rest of that first measure go by and have some space. You know, you just don't want to play an endless barrage of notes over slow blues. You need to let it breathe a little bit. Call and answer is what we're looking for. So we played that first lick. Into the second measure there, we go into the 4 chord, and then I'm going to answer that. Same notes, basically starting on that G again, going up to the B flat, hitting the C, bending it again, but this time ending that phrase on the B flat note, which is the flat 7 of our 4 chord, the C7. So it makes a nice little complement to that first lick. So altogether so far we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1. In the third phrase here, we're kind of bringing this in at the end of that second measure. So at the end of the 4 chord, kind of leading it back into the 1 chord in measure 3. And you're going to do this starting right after beat 4 at the end of that second bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit those G notes, hit that twice quickly. Go up to the C note, bend that up full, and let it ring. Then after beat 3, you're going to answer that. And what's going on here is a full bend from the C up to the D, and then you're going to go down to the B note at the 7th fret and bend that up half. Right like that. Answer that with a B flat, down to the G. Now if that's tricky to do, you can go down and bend that 7th fret B note. You can do that with your 3rd finger instead of the 2nd finger. Also, this is kind of tough to do on the high E string, depending on your gauge of string. So a lot of times people will play this lick on the B string up here instead of the high E string. But I'm choosing to play it down here. So again, the 3rd phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, the next couple licks we are going back to the 4 chord, and it's very typical for people to play more B.B. King inspired licks at this time. All right, so take that little House of Blues shapes that we were just playing out of. Take that up 2 frets. People typically refer to this as the B.B. box. A lot of that B.B. King stuff lives in this little space. All right, we're going to start this 4 chord lick by sliding into the E note at the 9th fret, up to the G, to the A. Bend that A up a half step. That's going to give you the B flat note, which is the flat 7 of our C chord. Remember, we're on the 4 chord here. And the lick on the A note there, the 6th, which is very much a typical B.B. move. He would end a lot of phrases on that lick and kind of cut it off short. Little vibrato there on the G note. After that lick, we're going to rest a bit and give it some space. Again, you don't want to play just an endless barrage of notes. This is a conversation here. Okay, then we're going to come in with the next lick kind of midway through that second measure on the 4 chord, and I'm going to answer it with this. What we're doing here, we're starting by sliding into that E note at the 9th fret again, which is the 3rd of our C chord. Then what I did here, I went up to the G note, then up and to the E flat at the 11th fret, and bent that up full. Now that note is not in the scale, but I'm bending it up full immediately to the sound of the F note, which is in the scale. I'm coming back down in G minor pentatonic, leading us back into the G note on the G chord. And then ending that with the E note there at the 9th fret on the G string, and now that has the context of being the 6th of G, another very typical B.B. King move to end a line on the 6th. Now this move right here, bending from the E flat, a note that's not in the scale, you can do that to make it a little bit simpler of a bend, but a lot of times what people will do is bend the D note there and bend that up a step and a half. But that step and a half bend there can be pretty tough depending on your gauge of strings. So most of the time I'll choose to do it from the E flat note there and just make it a whole step bend. And then we're back on the 1 chord, and this next lick is kind of reminiscent of both Freddie and Albert King, and that is bending into the root when going back to a 1 chord. Our root being G because we're in the key of G, right there. Alternating with the G and the F. Pulling that off down to the D. Ending my phrase down on the B flat, the flat 3rd. All right, the next couple licks are very much Freddie King, and this is coming on beat 4 of that second measure of the G chord there. And this is 1, 2, 3. We're squeezing 5 notes there in one beat. 1, 2, 3. Right there, just alternating between the F and the G. Right there. And then what you're going to do on the D chord, so the 5 chord is coming next, and instead of bending that G note up to the sound of the A, right, which was typical of what most people would do here, it sounded like Freddie King did on this lick is he bent actually from the F sharp note up a step and a half, which kind of gives it a really cool flavor. So basically what he's doing here is he's playing over the 5 chord, the D chord, in D minor pentatonic, because that is an A note, that's still in D minor pentatonic, and then moving down into D minor pentatonic position 5, all right, bending the F note up to the G, back down, the root, the C back to the root, so very much a kind of D minor pentatonic sound over that 5 chord, which you can certainly do. And then we're back on the 4 chord, and this is very much going into the B.B flavor again. But instead of choosing to play it down here where we played in that B.B box earlier, I'm choosing to play the same notes up on the D and G string. Because in the next lick, I'm going to go way up here at the 15th fret. Going to go back to the 1 chord now, and what I'm doing is I'm covering the top 2 notes of our G chord right there, the D and the G, covering that with a barred index finger, and then bending again from the flat 7 up into the root. Going to hold that bend out and then just descending in G minor pentatonic. And then going to finish it off on the 5 chord, going back down here into G minor pentatonic position 4, kind of in this space. And it's bending up to the root of the 5 chord, the D note. So bending the C to the D, full. Ending on the root of our 5 chord, the D note. So here's the entire solo very slowly. 1, 2, 3. Going to the 4. On the 4 chord here, going to take a little rest.